Hello folks, this is Johnny again. Now let's hope for this video the sound quality of my voice recording stays good, because I have had some unpredictable problems with my interface lately. Again, focus right. Come on people, get it right. I mean, it's in your name. In any case, let's just do some more Q's and A's for this one, shall we? I have times where I find myself writing a handful of material in a few days. Sometimes I even start writing at the morning, and during nighttime I am mastering my newly written track. But then I have times where I cannot get into creative writing for months, like right now. How do you deal with writer's block? It's making me insane. Keep up the good work, honey. Why, thank you, cutie pie. Writer's block, yeah, I have to be honest, I'm dealing with exactly the same thing you are going through. Most recent weird experience with this is I also went through a couple of months of a creative drought. Really, all I could do was just record some individual ideas, melodies and riffs and whatnot. But none of that really sparked any further developments to build it into a full song. Nothing really worked. And so I have dozens over dozens of projects just sitting there, and nothing is really happening with it, okay? I go through the exact same thing. And then, so that's been going on for, I don't know, perhaps 3, 4, perhaps even 5 months or so. And then March to mid-April, so very recently, I managed to pull out 4 songs. So yeah, somehow that just happens. The creative juices want to flow when they want to flow. For me personally, it's pretty much impossible to force myself to write. What I then like to do is just take a break from music and do other stuff, to get out of a rut, to make some kind of new experience that will get the creative juices flowing again. Because what is music? It's a form of self-expression. And when you don't have anything to express, then it's just going to be difficult. So you gotta make some kind of new experiences, and it doesn't matter what kind of experiences. Just go out and pick up a new hobby, like go play some ball, or watch some new cartoon, or some new anime, or some new video game. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be anything big either. But while I say that, of course, I myself also still go through writer's block from time to time. Also now I'm not sure how quickly I can pick up that creative storm, and I wish I really could, because here a little bit of an album update. I only need 2 more songs, and then the instrumental writing phase of the new album will be done. So 10 songs are already pretty much finished on the writing front, and then it's off to really recording everything finalized and stuff, and then mixing, and still so much work to do with that. But yeah, I hope you can make something out of that convoluted answer. Next question. Also, what is the difference between EQ before the amp, EQ within the amp, and post EQ? Sorry, just to add, you boosted 1.6K in the pre-EQ, and then you cut the same freak in post EQ. Don't understand this whole pre-post thing. So that comment was made, I believe, on my bullet for my Valentine's tone with TH3. And yes, very good question. What's the difference between pre-EQ and post EQ in conjunction with the amp section? It is a huge difference. Very, very different application. See, post-EQ shapes the whole sound. Pre-EQ shapes the way the amp distorts. It is quite the different procedure. And in that particular video, I boosted 1.6K before the amp to get a more pronounced pick attack and to get more of a mid-rangey distortion characteristic. Behind the amp, I cut down 1.6K with a rather narrow Q, because there was this little bit of a nasally character to it. And that nasally character was there to begin with. It didn't come from the boost before the amp. Think of it also this way. Now when people use, for example, the tube screamer before the amplifier. Very often you see them putting the drive down and the tone up. So what's happening there is that pedal is not adding more distortion to the sound. Rather, that pedal acts as a kind of pre-EQ before the amplifier. It rolls off a lot of the low end and boosts the mid-range quite a bit more, and therefore you get that tighter, more mid-rangey sound. So the pre-EQ is the exact same concept, it's just I have more control over the frequency ranges. And also the EQ is clean, it doesn't add any saturation or slight distortion or slight crunch to it. It's rather clean and flat, and I have pure control just over the frequencies. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Next question. Hope you feel better, man. I have had the tired issue for a while too. Especially after I eat, I feel like I have to have a nap. Oh boy, I know that feeling. Only way around it is fighting it and exercising, even though sitting and doing nothing sounds so great. I have a question I am curious about. Have you have any interest in trying Get Good drums? Or is it something you probably wouldn't be interested in because they are slightly pre-mixed and not raw samples? Really love your channel, man, I am an addict. I think you should go see a doctor about that addiction. Yeah, concerning the tired thing, I do feel a little bit better now. Concerning Get Good drums, you're right, I'm not really that interested in it. Pretty much every demo I heard from that drum library so far, it just sounded exactly like Periphery. I mean, it makes sense, it's their drums, but yeah, not my cup of tea. Okay, I am at a point in my mixing skills that I want to imprint my own sound onto my music. I want to try to manifest what I'm hearing in my head. And having something that so obviously sounds like another band just defeats the purpose. I also don't know if they really are premixed or raw, you would know better than me, I didn't look that much into it. If they are premixed, then even more so. Yes, I absolutely do not like when studios who make drum libraries only give you the mixed sound and not the raw samples. Because I feel that is so restricting. You already have the imprinted sound in the drums and there's nothing you can do to put your own personal individual stamp onto it. Of course you could do some slight EQ moves and compression moves in the mix, but the basic sound is just there. There's nothing you can do to individualize it. And don't get me wrong, I really do appreciate it when studios make their own drum libraries and share it with other people. I think that's really cool of them, that they help out the bedroom warrior, if you will. Although officially I am not a bedroom producer anymore because this is not my bedroom. My bedroom is behind that wall. So take that. I've been promoted. But I don't understand why they don't give you the opportunity to mix the raw samples yourselves. It's like they try to stand out in the sea of drum libraries that are out there by getting the better mix. But by doing that, they completely rob their customers from the chance that they can imprint their own sound onto the drums. I just don't like that idea at all. And for me personally, I just enjoy mixing. So I want to get the raw samples, mix them myself, and imprint my own ideas onto the raw material. That's what mixing is about. Get the raw sound and enhance it in a way that the song needs it and make it all come to life. That is what mixing is about. But no, with pre-mixed drums, that whole process, the art of mixing, is completely taken out of the equation, and that really grinds my gears. If you don't have the time to learn mixing and you just want to get your ideas out there to the world, then by all means go for it. There's nothing wrong with that, and I absolutely don't condone that. It's just for me personally, I'm talking about my personal situation. I don't like it. I don't like that stuff. I would personally never use it. And then this also really grinds my gears. When I go to a forum and then people ask, hey, can you quit my mix? And then there's a list of what they use. Ease mix, Ease drummer, or perfect drums, or all this stuff that's already pre-made. But then I'm thinking, how in the world can you ask to criticize your mix? This is not your mix. You're just using presets someone else made. Sorry for going into ranting territory there. Let's go to the next question before I burst a vein or something. A bit off topic, but how do you go about mastering the TH3 guitar sound? I'm using it since a couple of weeks now, and although I like it, I sometimes find that it sounds a bit dark and or slightly muffled. Do you recommend adjusting the overall TH3 settings and boosting the highs, or do you fix this with some EQ and mastering work behind in the DAW? First of all, get your terminologies right. What you're talking about is mixing, not mastering. Mastering, completely different thing. Mixing is when you put EQ and compression and whatever else onto the individual tracks on your drums, on your guitars, on your vocals, whatever you have. And then when the mix is finished, normally you would export that into one WAV file, and then the process you do on that one WAV file, that is mastering. And you do just some finer nuances, some final moves, which is usually done by another engineer who goes at it with fresh ears, so he notices whatever else nuances this might need, and also bringing the whole mix up to level and then preparing it for distribution. So mixing and mastering, two different processes. It does make a difference to know your terminology, because I've had weird conversations in the past because of that and misunderstandings. So yeah, now to your question, I would try to get the tone as close to what I want as possible in TH3. So when I notice it's a little bit dull, there's too much low end, then I rather want to tweak the amp EQ first. I want to get the basic balance down before I go fixing stuff later on. You should want to get things as good as possible from the get-go, so you don't have to do any fixing later on in the mix, because mixing is technically not for fixing, it is rather to enhance things. So you want to get things as good as possible really from the start to the finish, so you have to do less fixing later on. And then when I get my tones as good as possible in TH3, then I go into post EQ and do some slight EQ moves and do some slight surgical cuts where I hear some harshness and some resonating frequencies, and that's it. Death Slayer tone maybe? Okay, so the thing with the TH3 tone tutorials that perhaps you ought to know, there are some bands and some kinds of styles of music that I don't really want to go into, to be honest. It's simply a matter of personal taste. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm not criticizing anybody, I'm not criticizing any band, I'm not bashing anything. I don't want to trigger anybody. You just have to consider what I'm actually doing when I'm doing these kinds of videos, the preparation it takes. First of all, I have to figure out the tones for myself, and that takes time. And in doing that, I constantly switch back and forth between a reference song from the band and then the little demo that I recorded, tweaking the tone to get as close as possible. So I'm listening to that band for like 1 or 2 hours. And there are just some styles of music that I don't want to listen to for 1 or 2 hours. I've had requests for some very extreme metal bands. I couldn't even stand listening to it for 2 seconds. Again, that's just, it's just not my thing, okay? It doesn't resonate. It puts me on edge listening to this kind of stuff, and I don't really want to go there. Sorry, that's just how it is. In terms of thrash bands like Death or Slayer, I already made Metallica, and that's pretty much the limit. I won't go below that level of heaviness in terms of thrash metal. Also now with my latest how to get a modern genty metalcore tone tutorial, I will not do anything that is tuned below drop A anymore. I consider that whole chapter pretty much closed. Please don't hate me for not wanting to do a couple of bands, but it's just how it is, you know, this is my channel, I can do whatever I want. Alrighty, and I think that kind of brings us to the end of this video. If you have any questions, then by all means leave them in the comments below. Perhaps I will answer them right away in the comments, and perhaps even then I will still include them here in a new video like I did with some of these questions. I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you a great day.